Hey guys, this is Undercover Dudes all the way from Down Under, and today I'm going to be talking about the free crystal and skin system high-res is implemented in the Paladins, and how it's probably one of the most genius ideas for an up-and-coming free-to-play game. Let's start off with the crystal system, which is implemented in two different ways. The first way is through a daily login system, which rewards users for launching up the client every day of the week. Throughout days 1 to 5, you get gold, which is an in-game currency used for unlocking champions. However, with days 6 and 7, you're rewarded with 15 and 35 crystals respectively, which is the in-real life currency in Paladins. For an up-and-coming free-to-play game like Paladins, this system makes a lot of sense. With the first 5 days, it's a less significant reward, but it gets people on the main menu, and therefore there is a decent chance they will actually have a match, since a match only lasts around 10 to 15 minutes or so. This occurring over 5 days is golden for a free-to-play game, as a daily player will start to like the game more and more. To put it into perspective, the thing that all free-to-play games want is to keep you playing and playing and playing. The more you play, the more likely you will enjoy the game, and therefore the more likely you will actually buy something from the store. This is very different to pay-to-play games. Pay-to-play games, they already have your $15, $30, $60, $100, and in the end of it, if the game experience isn't really what you have in mind, if you've already sunken enough hours that you can't go and refund the game, then you're basically stuck with it. Free to play, if somebody just doesn't like the game, they won't put any money, they'll probably just basically uninstall the game, and overall that is the inherent risk with this medium. But with that said, free to play also has a ton of benefits, one of those benefits being that a game can have a really big potential player base. But with that said, Hi-Rez is one of the only developers right now that is really capitalizing on this opportunity and taking free to play in a really good direction, and these two systems I'm going to be talking about is a perfect example of what they're doing. Now let's get right back on track, talking about the crystal rewards. Day 6 gives only 37.5 cents worth of crystals, while Day 7 gives about 90 cents worth. So all in all, it's a tad over $1 worth of crystals given to the player over this 2-day period. Either way, Hi-Rez wins, the player wins, and everybody is happy. Let me explain. Now from the perspective of the player, it's Hi-Rez rewarding them for consistently playing the game, which is definitely true, but then the question is asked, how would a player spend the crystals? They could either spend them on a single crate, which is fine, but a lot of people will save up and try to purchase a larger item down the line. This is a win-win for Hi-Rez. Now, if they decide to save up, two things could happen. One, they keep playing for a few weeks, they save up all the crystals, and then they go and purchase their item. This is great because an active player boosts the Steam numbers and keeps the popularity of the game high, which is crucial for a free-to-play game. Now, the second scenario is that the player just can't be screwed waiting, and then they put $5 or $10 worth of crystals on their account, and then they buy the item without going and logging in every single day and just really slowly accumulating all those crystals. Now, in Hi-Rez's mind, this is an absolutely fantastic outcome. They turned a free-to-play player into a dedicated paying customer, and overall that is really good for free-to-play games. When people go and put the money where their mouth is, when they go and put money into a free-to-play game, you know, history goes and tells that that player will stick with the game for a very long time. And in the end of it, the beauty of this whole system is that no one feels cheated. The player is stoked that they get real life currency for free and feels rewarded for the commitment to the game. Hi-Rez gets better player numbers and also goes and gets money from people that are a little bit impatient or really want to go and support the devs. Now, of course, this is all dependent if the player likes the game, but by the time day 2 or 3 comes around, I'm fairly sure that the player has already made up in their mind if they want to continue playing Paladins, so there really isn't any extra commitment from Hi-Rez because the first couple days is only in-game currency. Now this was just for the login, but what about the second way? The second way is through the Crystal Storm weekends, where it's basically get 30 crystals each for each of your first 3 wins, and this gets people in-game and in-game for a decent chunk of time. Now with that said, all of the benefits I talked about before, they perfectly translate to this scenario, to these weekends, but saying that it is on a grander scale. It's more buffed up, there's more on the line, and in the end of it, these go and give it really big boost, and if they play for the weekend, that's already 2 days for the login event, and more than likely they'll go and try to go and play the rest of the week out in order to go and get the crystals at the end. Now, from what I've just talked about, it seems that these systems are not focused on mass profit. It seems that Hi-Rez wants Paladins to build up a strong community. And I know that sounds really obvious, but believe me, there is a ton of free-to-play games that really just want to go and get the maximum amount of profit in the shortest amount of time. Now, with that said, they want this community, this Paladins community, to be akin to that of their own Smite, or even more so Overwatch, with Overwatch having a really tight-knit and a really powerful community. In my opinion, the way that Hi-Rez goes about this enticing attitude is a really good thing. Some developers go way too far, which would be the equivalent of giving out a ton of champions out for free, and that alienates the dedicated player base that bought or grinded to go and get that class in the first place. This system historically doesn't do very well for free-to-play games' lifespan and will only go and give a small spike in popularity. The approach Hi-Rez is going for right now won't maximize profits in the short term, but for a game that is an open beta and with a lot of work that still needs to be done, I really commend their approach, and hopefully this login reward goes and continues in some form after the open beta has finished. However, my prediction is that the gold reward will go and stay. However, the crystal reward, that will be removed because it's just taking too much money out of Hi-Rez's back pocket. So I've talked about the crystals, now let's go and talk about the skins, and I absolutely love this system as well. Very simply, Hi-Rez gives out a certain skin if you follow, subscribe, like, etc. their social media pages. You get Victor's charcoal skin for following on Twitter, a matching weapon skin for liking on Facebook, the Oxy Stallion mount for subscribing on YouTube, Team Fortress 2 Barrack for playing on Steam, and Ying plus a Ying mirror skin for following on Twitch. There is a lot to talk about here, so let's go and break it down. But before we do that, in general, most people go and think of these as just skins for basically no effort, which is true, but this really boosts Paladin on a social media and Steam level, but in different ways. For following on Twitter, liking on Facebook, and subscribing on YouTube is a twofold effect. Firstly, if the play is active, these social media platforms keep the play up to date about new patches, and especially when these new patches will go live, so players can prepare a time maybe in advance when they will want to go and play on this new patch. Now on top of this, it can also go and direct a large portion of people towards Paladins tournaments, which I'll go and reference later on. The second effect is if a player quits the game, they'll still be notified through these social media channels that the game is still around and kicking, and if a new champion is released, then potentially that player might come back to try the game again. Now with all of that said, these social media numbers are also really good for potential sponsors for certain tournaments, and as you can see we have a bit of a trend here with tournaments and everything kind of links back to that. There's also a free skin for playing on Steam. This one is pretty cut and dry, because playing on Steam is more beneficial for the game than playing on the Hi-Rez launcher, simply because a player on Steam contributes to getting Paladins high in the free-to-play section. Paladins is already pretty far up there already, in the top 4 spot, but it's been bet by the juggernauts of Dota 2 and Team Fortress 2, but overtaking Warframe, the game in the number 3 spot, might be a possibility down the line, and Hi-Rez 100% wants this to happen. Now obviously a more popular game means that more people playing, and that means that more people potentially going to go and spend money on the game, but besides from that, having a tagline as one of the top 3 most played free-to-play Steam games sounds a lot cooler than one of the top 4 free-to-play Steam games. Overall, it is, a little bit of an extra thing, it's a bit on the aside, but it's something that Hi-Rez definitely wants to work towards, and this aggressive marketing and this aggressive push is something that really tells to what Hi-Rez really wants for Paladins. The last one is where the big reward is, getting Ying and the Illusionary Mirror. This is the only one where a champion is given out, so obviously Hi-Rez is putting a big priority here. It's fairly obvious that Hi-Rez wants Paladins to become an esport like Smite, but it needs numbers. The studio has shown that they can do a decent job at running competition, as it can be seen over the last couple of years of Smite, but follower numbers and people watching are two very important metrics in getting Paladins above the bar that they have already set for themselves. Now, if this can go and occur, that means potential big name sponsors can go and get behind these tournaments, and this is not only good for the competitive scene, this is good for the game in general. Going and getting these big name sponsors means that the pro players can potentially have a really big prize pool, more motivation to go and play the game, more publicity for these tournaments, more exposure, more people going and watching it, and overall, the more people that go and watch esports, the more dedicated they go and get to actually playing very well in their games, the more hours that they go and put into it. Because if they have, they believe they have decent skill, then in the end of it, they want to become a pro gamer. And Paladins is potentially one of those games where this can go and occur. So with all of that said, hopefully you guys have a better insight into the world of free-to-play. Free-to-play is a really, really complex ecosystem, and Paladins is really, really fitting quite well into it. And Hi-Rez, they know how to go and do free-to-play, and they have been doing it very well for the past couple of years, and I think they're going to be doing it very, very well for the rest of the company's lifetime. So with that said, if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to go and smash that like button. Also go and subscribe if you want more Paladins content. But other than that, it's Undercovered all the way from Down Under.